from Yud Tes Kislev, Tafshin Lamed Daled. Again, during the Yom Kippur War, the Rebbe was constantly addressing the importance of being joyous. And since it's Yud Tes Kislev, the Rebbe brings an example of something that occurred when the Alter Rebbe was imprisoned before Yud Tes Kislev. So we're going to begin from 4 paragraphs from the bottom of the page, 1 paragraph after the 3 dots. It says, Be'ez HaMaiser, during the imprisonment of the Alter Rebbe, Sholus Rabbeinu Azokin Mispra Shailos. They asked from the Alter Rebbe a number of questions. B'negei Lov Ba'atzmai, they asked him personal questions. They asked him B'negei L'Shitzah Chassidus, they asked him concerning the views of Chassidus. B'negei L'Sfarav Shkvar Nitvasu, they asked him about Sfarim of the Alter Rebbe that were already printed, Hayadayim B'Ksav, or some Sfarim that were still in manuscript form. U'b'neim Hoysa Gam Shaila B'negei L'Mashakasav B'Tanya. Amongst the questions was also a question that it says, concerning what it says in Tanya, Shahaya Oz Kvar B'Tfus, that was at that time when the Alter Rebbe was arrested, it was already in print. At the end, Soif Perek Rishon, at the end of the first Perek in Tanya, Oidus HaShoyru Shel Nafshis Umas HaOlam, about the spiritual root of the souls of the nations of the world. She'enam K'moya Nefesh HaShenis B'Yisrael, that the souls of the nations of the world are not like the second soul. That's by the Yidden Shechel Kel Kamam Al Mamish, that it's verily so, actually a part of Hashem above. U'b'chein, the result of this was, Al Kol HaShailas, on all the questions, Ad L'Shaila Anal, until this last question, or till this question, Heishiv Rabbeinu Azokin, the Alter Rebbe replied. V'ilu al Shaila Zu, when it came to this question about the differences between Jewish souls and non-Jewish souls, Loi Heishiv Lam Rabbeinu Azokin, the Alter Rebbe did not respond. V'siper, and the Alter Rebbe related, Shekeshishalu Oisei Shaila Zu, when they asked him this question, Shosak, he was quiet. He didn't respond. Avol, but Her upon him Sheichkos. He smiled. V'shuv le'chazar al Shaila Zu, and they didn't get back to this question. U'bezen nistayim hadavar, and this is how this question was concluded, without any response from Alter Rebbe except for a smile. After some time, I guess after he was out of prison, the Alter Rebbe explained what was his intention. Ubahagdim, the Rebbe says first by way of introduction, Shatshuvas Shalabeinu Hazokin, the responses of the Alter Rebbe, Hutzrachu Liyos Ba'ofen Sheyuchlu Liyiskabel Eitzel Elu Shechokru V'Dorshu V'Shol Sashailos. These had to be answered in such a way, the Alter Rebbe had to answer the questions in such a way that it should be able to be accepted by those that investigated and asked these questions. Amongst those people that asked Alter Rebbe the questions and posed these questions were intellectuals. And especially, then Russia and in general Europe was under the influence of France. And in France, they were very much into logic and research and science and so on. So he says on the next page, that from France came out different philosophies. Some of the philosophies that originated then in France were in opposition to faith. Some of them were in support of faith. And many of the officers of the court of the Tsar at that time were very impassioned to follow along at that time. That was the modern view of France to investigate and to follow philosophy and so on. And since these officials knew the person that they had, Alter Rebbe, that they had, was someone that founded a certain view in philosophy and in intellectual pursuits. With the science dealing with the inner workings of man. So it was therefore the will of those officials and ministers, or this was their job, to be amongst those that posed the questions for the Alter Rebbe, and afterwards they recorded his responses, they recorded his replies. And therefore the Alter Rebbe went on to explain, when these investigators, who are, like we said, very intellectual people that were searching for philosophical truths, saw the smiling face of the Alter Rebbe, and since they knew, shall call asoros hashayil sheshalu ados, that for the tens of questions that they asked until they got to this question, Ono lahem betuvtam, the Alter Rebbe answered them very well. Mistami yavinu, so therefore the Alter Rebbe intention was as follows, that even if he doesn't respond and he just smiles, they'll understand shegam al shayla zu yesh lemayna, that he has a response for this. It's not worthwhile for them to hear the answer. So that's why he smiled. In other words, like saying, you and I know, the Alter Rebbe was like communicating with a smile, you and I know that I can answer this very easily. But it would be an answer that would make you feel uncomfortable. So just, let's go on to the next thing. This is what the Alter Rebbe explained at one time. So the Rebbe goes on and says, Amna, this very same thing that the Alter Rebbe communicated through the smile, that I have an answer, but you wouldn't like hearing it, the Alter Rebbe could have communicated and explained it in a different way. Lav dafkai de ponim soichkes, not through a smile. Concerning this, Chassidim relate why the Alter Rebbe chose specifically this means of communication in this event. In one of the Mamorim, the Alter Rebbe said following this, that in the Maimer it speaks over there about Simcha, since you do not serve Hashem your God with joy. So he spoke about the importance of service with joy. So the Alter Rebbe said, Diber, he spoke in that Maimer, Oides inyan ha-simcha shemamtik dinim. He spoke about how Simcha, having joy, sweetens judgments, makes from negative things and removes the negativity and turns it into positive. V'amar, and the Alter Rebbe says, Shera azois betanya sovet. He saw this in Tanya Sovet. What's Tanya Sovet? Sovet means like a group, a committee. That's why Soviet Union is a group, a committee, a joint. Tanya Sovet nikras havida chashois vida soidis, the secret committee, the quiet committee, shebachakru v'darshus Rabbeinu Azakin, that they investigated the Alter Rebbe. Kichol asiri amlucha shechshudim bisnagdus l'melech l'mishtra malchus, like all government prisoners that were suspect of being in opposition to the Tsar and to the government, etc. So the Rebbe continues that Shekain has choik al panav shel Rabbeinu Azakin Hoya loirak lamar ponim, the smile on and the I guess the laughter perhaps, but the smile on the face of the Alter Rebbe was not just something external, that he didn't mean to smile. The smile was like superficial. All matters that Alter Rebbe was in a inner way, in a true way. Since he had by him a matter that was connected with joy, and through his joy the judgments became sweetened. That because of that, his silence was accepted and received by the investigators, by the interrogators, like the best response. In other words, the Alter Rebbe was in a very dangerous situation. He was in a situation of literally in danger for his own life. And by not responding, that itself could endanger his life and make things more serious for him. Yet the very smile itself removed the judgments. From this we see when one finds himself in such a serious situation where the Committee for State Security, the secret police, is busy interrogating the person. So it's a very serious time. This is the time when a person especially has to be joyous. Even more so. This is the path and the weapons to sweeten the judgment. To such a degree, not only do the judgments become nullified, but like the expression in the language was, it sweetened the judgments. From the judgments, which are bitter and painful, become something that's sweetened, davar masik. It's a sweet matter, v'toiva, and it's a good matter. It's explained in many places how hamtakas adinim means changing from the bad, not just that the bad should go away, but the bad itself should become good. So now the Rebbe says, again, since it was during the situation of at the end of Yom Kippur War, etc. So the Rebbe says, the last paragraph, this is also a response to those that are asking. Seemingly, there's a time for everything. There's a time to be joyous and a time not to. So this Farbrengen was a Yud Tes Kislev Farbrengen. So the Rebbe says, Kach Yud Tes Kislev b'zman kazeh hu amnon zman shel simcha. True, Yud Tes Kislev during such a time it's Yud Tes Kislev. It's a time of joy. Avol tzarich ladas ad kama v'ketzad v'chulu. You need to know. There's a Yiddish expression. Vu ein and vu eis. You got to know to what degree. You got to know about. You got to put the brakes on certain things in certain times. So the Rebbe says, top of the next page, therefore the response is, but just the opposite. Since now there is a need for a special type of sweetening. Like we said before, not just that the judgments should be negated, but rather from the judgments should come out good. And a goodness that in it will be a matter of sweetening. Specifically, this time is appropriate for joy, v'simcha amitis, and true joy. Simcha mitis kshurim Torah asemes, and true joy is connected with the Torah of truth, v'gadol limud shemevel de ma'aseh, and the greatness of study of Torah is that it brings to action. So therefore, if true joy is connected with Torah, it's connected also in mitzvahs shenitztavu b'Torah asemes, with mitzvahs that we were commanded in the Torah of truth. Hakshurim im ha'am, that the mitzvahs and the Torah are connected with the nation, shavidosai v'tafkidoi v'shlichusai, that the job and the mission of that nation is illegalis as emes havaya lo'olam, the truth of Hashem to bring it into the world. Sheba'olam haza agashmi v'achurmi, this material and physical world, yiru as emes havaya, they should see the truth of havaya, kifishi ba'olam haza, the way the truth of Hashem manifests itself in this world. And through this is fulfilled what it says before the words Emes Havaya La'olam. It says, Halu as Hashem kol goyim. All the goyim will sing praises. Shabchu kol umim, all the nations will praise Hashem. Ki gover aleinu chazdoi, because they will sing praise to Hashem, because they see how powerful Hashem's kindness is upon us. That the nations of the world will be happy and satisfied from the success of the Yidden, in such a way that God's kindness was powerful upon us. Then the Yidden will say, even the final days of the Golus, praise Hashem that He is good because His kindness is everlasting. This is the idea of Hallel, like all the matters of Hallel. This is also known as Hallel HaGodel, the Haidus. In Haidul Hashem Kitov Kol Chazde, where it brings down over there 26 times, Haidul Hashem Kitov is known as the Great Hallel. It's also known as Hallel HaMitzri because it has to do with what the Yidden said when they got out of Mitzrayim. HaKosherim Inyan HaNisim, that's connected with miracles. Like this was Yud Tes Kislev, so like we're going to say Hallel on the days of Chanukah that are coming up. And as they will say, when it will be fulfilled the promise, they will say Hallel as well. When the promise will be fulfilled, it's like your days going out of the land of Mitzrayim, I'll show you wonders. Like it's brought down the Zohar, then it will be such miracles. Even in comparison to the miracles that was in the days of you're going out of the land of Mitzrayim, you ba'ifin shall ploys, they'll be in the way of wonders. In other words, the miracles of Mashiach's times will be looked at and taken in comparison to the miracles of Mashiach's times. The miracles of Yetzias Mitzrayim will be looked at, even someone that experienced it, Mitzrayim, and the miracles of Mitzrayim will look at it as wonders. Nisim nasim lehem, wonders of wonders will occur to them. Afilu be'erach nisim shebitzis Mitzrayim, even in comparison to the miracles of going out of Mitzrayim. Because of Mamish, soon, actually, Sheyavi Ishim Beis David, when the man will come from the house of David, Semach Shmoy, his name is Semach. Yotzim HaGolos is Kol Echad Vachs Yisrael. He will take out of Golos every man and woman, and B'nei they say Itam, their sons and daughters with them. The Kasvam was Havim Itam, and their silver and gold with them. Bam Iver B'Seach Hari V'Ledas Yachad, the blind and the limping and the pregnant woman and the birthing woman together, V'Kol Gal Yeshuva Heina, and a great congregation will return here, U'B'Chesed, with kindness, V'Simcha Soilom Al Rosham, and everlasting joy upon their heads. You can do the Tillim now.